Cliplist.io.
Let's switch up now for a minute and talk video game adaptations. We recently got the release of Uncharted starring Tom Holland and Mark Wahlberg. This movie has seemed to put an end to the video game movie curse that has plagued Hollywood for the last couple of years. Hollywood in recent years has tried several video game adaptations that have just bombed at the box office, failed to get off the ground, and died on impact. You have the Super Mario's Brother movie in 1993. You have the Lara Croft Tomb Raider franchise movies with Angelina Jolie. You also have the Mortal Kombat movies, which failed miserably in the 90s and in the 2000s. I think that this has been a repeating cycle from Hollywood, trying to cash in on these popular games at the height of their success, and it never seemed to pan out. And it always left fans of the video games very disappointed that their favorite game had been ruined by a movie adaptation. However, Uncharted has kind of broke away from that stigma, that line of failures, and stands out as a successful movie adaptation amongst failures. Let's talk about why this is. First off, casting. Obviously, it went the right way with this casting. Casting Tom Holland is a no-brainer for this movie. A young Nathan Drake played by Tom Holland. It was always going to do well with fans. Tom Holland is very hot right now as an actor, very in demand. However, I want to talk about the casting of Mark Wahlberg and why I thought this was the wrong decision. However, before I get into the casting for this movie, I want to first say why I love Uncharted as a game series. I first started playing Uncharted a couple of years ago, and once I started, I couldn't stop. It has everything you need for an entertaining game from start to finish. There's a great storyline. You play as Nathan Drake, a treasure hunter who travels the world going on different heists, different missions to make sure that artifacts are kept safe from people who are trying to steal them. This game has everything I still play Uncharted for from time to time. I've never got sick of it. It's so replayable. The graphics are amazing. The combat scenes in the game are next to none. There's great parkour scenes in the game where you need to climb up certain buildings and get from building to building, and it just knows how to entertain you, even with the small things. So if you haven't played Uncharted, any of the game franchise, I extremely recommend it. You won't be disappointed, especially if you like adventure games and very hard mission games as well. There's some complex puzzles in the game that you need to solve to get from one mission to the next. And I think from time to time I needed to look up YouTube videos of how to solve these puzzles because they were hard to do. Plain and simple, I believe that Uncharted is one of the best game franchises produced by Naughty Dog Productions, who also produced the likes of Crash Bandicoot, which we'll talk about another time. Great franchise. But I just think that there's something special about Uncharted. The replayability, the graphics, the storyline, everything is there to make for an entertaining gaming experience. So if you haven't played Uncharted yet, take this as your sign to do so. Now back to the casting. Like I said, Tom Holland, perfectly cast in my opinion. He plays a young Nathan Drake. He has the charisma for that role. However, I just did not understand and did not like the casting of Mark Wahlberg in this movie as Victor Sullivan. I didn't think it worked. In the game franchise, Victor Sullivan is a bit older, so maybe the age profile works, but overall in the game franchise, he's arrogant at times, but he's extremely likable, and I just think that Mark Wahlberg didn't embody that characteristic in the movie. I know that the movie decided to amalgamate all the games together and kind of gave us a prequel of what was to come. But when I was watching the movie, I saw elements of Uncharted 4 in there, Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 1. You know, they decided to take 4 great games and stick it into one movie. And to be honest, I thought this was a mistake, especially if the thinking would be to make this a movie franchise, because there's several games in this gaming franchise to make movies off of. So the thinking should have been, first movie is game 1, second movie game 2, so on, so on. And especially with having Tom Holland play the role, it's a prequel, so it's game 1, because it's a young Nathan Drake. But they amalgamated all the games into this one movie, which makes no goddamn sense. And it was kind of frustrating as a fan because I was seeing my favorite mission in the game being botched or having very little time on screen when that is one of the best missions in the game to play. So I just thought there was a mistake on the director's part, the producer's part, to make that choice to amalgamate all the games into this first movie. However, with all that being said, this movie is performing exponentially well at the box office and I think outperforming even their own expectations. Let's talk about why this is.